everybody. Very exciting. Our reading diaries have finally come through, and we're now going to start using them to support the children's reading at home, to mirror the reading that we do with them in school, and a similar kind of approach so that the children get that consistency of message. So let's have a quick look. So through the early pages of the book, okay, there's lots of guidance for you guys at home on how best to read with your children and how best to get them to engage with you in that process. So there's lots of top tips about the best time, the best place, in order to help them with their reading. There's then like the different type of questions that you can ask, so support around the types of questions, sort of like, what do you think this story will be about? What might happen in the story? So things to talk about before you even open the book. We've then got some advice on how to read together at home, okay, and the best things to kind of talk about as you're going through the book to support them, like focusing on the pictures. And then we've got a section here on the best way to help them with phonics and with reading words and with understanding the sentences that they're reading. And on the next page, I've just written out the national curriculum, so that's what the government want us to teach the children with regards to reading, for year 1 and for year 2. So you get an idea of what it is the government expect them to know by the end of year 2 and what we want them to know by the end of year 2, because it gives them the best chance then of going up to the juniors and being able to continue their learning. And then we've got the common exception words for year 1 and for year 2. So in our school, if the children are still on RML and still doing grey books, then they're still going to be learning the common exception words. By the time they come off RML, lots of them will already know all of the common exception words. The common exception words are words which do not follow the usual patterns of the phonics that they learn in RML. So different letters that are being put together to make different sounds. Usually in RML they learn what those sounds are, and when they see those letters in a word, then they can say the sound. But the common exception words are words that don't follow the usual pattern. But they need to know them because they're common. They're used an awful lot in reading and in writing. So the faster they learn them, the better, the more fluent they'll be at their reading. So what I've done is I've left a couple of columns for you so that when they've read the word with you in a book, you haven't had to tell them, they've read it confidently, you can just put that date in and then you'll know that they know that common exception word. Okay, so do it for year 1 and do it for year 2. Then I've given you a little page there about the literacy skills, okay, which is sort of like all the different parts of grammar, the nouns and pronouns and adverbs and verbs. Okay, so you've got that information at home as well. The children will be learning it in school. It means you'll be able to reinforce that learning at home with definitions as well. And then there's a couple of pages about questioning, because questioning is the best way to find out whether children are learning or not. And there's 2 types of questions we can ask. So a retrieval question is where you're asking children just to find the answer in the text. So the words will be there in the text. So say the story started with one dark night on the edge of the forest, and the question is, where does the story take place? On the edge of the forest. Okay, so the text just gives you the answer. All you've got to do is pull it out of the text. But inference questions, they want you to think more about what the answer could be. So far more sort of like why questions, how questions. They're wanting you to reason something out rather than just find something in the text. So inference questions are the harder, the higher order type of questions, and we'd expect that more in year 2. But if your children are reading fluently and they're in like year 1, then that's great for them to continue on and do the inference questions as well. And then there's the speed sound chart, which gives you all the sounds that the consonant letters make and all the different ways that that can be written. and then all the different vowel sounds and all the different graphemes for that phoneme. So you can see for the phoneme I, you've got all these different graphemes, different ways of writing that I sound in the words, and we expect the children to know all of those different ways of writing it. Then the book is broken up into the 6 half terms, and each half term follows the same pattern. So you have a week diary where you put in the book that you're reading. So on Monday, maybe you start reading the book and you read page 1 to 5, so you put in 1 to 5, and then there's an area for you to put your comments or your questions. So that could be something like a parent, you could be writing down whether your child struggled with it, whether they were confident with it. Maybe there were some words that they weren't able to read or some words that they didn't understand. Maybe they had a really good question that you want to remember, and so you're going to write it down there. Or maybe the child has learnt a word and an understanding of the word that they didn't know before, and they're going to write that in there as well. Okay, and you do that all the way down the week until you get to the weekend, and then I've given you one box there to put in some information about what you're reading on Saturday and Sunday. And right down the bottom, I've got some questions so that parents, carers, whoever's reading with the child has got some idea of the kind of things that they could ask to pull out whether the child has understood, and also whether the child can share some of their feelings and emotions about the book. Then we have, at the end of each week, there's kind of a different type of review that I want them to do. Okay, so this one here is just a simple one where you're asking them to break down the story that they've read. And so whatever their favourite story is that week, they're going to give a couple of sentences to summarise what happened at the beginning, and then what happened then and next, and what happened finally. And what this is doing is helping them to summarise each part of the story, helping them to see that there's a structure that goes on within the story. After the second week, there's a book review where they're looking at the different characters, the plot, so that's like what the story is about, what's happening in the story, what they think about the book. Okay, if they had a favourite part to the book, or if they thought the ending was good, or how they might change the ending. And the last one is whether they would recommend it to a friend or not. Okay, and if they would recommend it to a friend, why they would do that. Now, they may think that actually it was a really boring book and I don't want to recommend it to a friend. And that's fine. You haven't got to make them like the book. Reading is about what engages you and what interests you. And if they've read something and they don't like it, that's fine. And it's fine for them to say they don't like it. What's really important is they learn how to give reasons for why they don't want to read or why they didn't enjoy reading that book. And then right down the bottom, you've got your rating. So 5 stars, yes, it was fantastic. 3 stars, it was okay. And 1 star, I didn't really enjoy that at all. At the end of the next week, we've got some retrieval questions. So again, they're not writing lots of sentences here. They're just pulling out the answers to the questions. So where does the story take place? Find that in the book. Again, they pick their favourite book, find that in the book, and they just write that down there. So what this is doing is helping them to learn the different elements that there are within a story. So like the place, the setting, the characters, the phrases. Okay, so we're just getting them to understand different parts of the books in that activity. So that's the same as the first week. That's the same as the second week. And then we come on to this one, which is about their feelings. Okay, it's really important that children are able to explain why they like or dislike something. So again, you put down the title of the book. I felt happy, I felt excited, I felt bored, I felt frightened, I felt scared, I felt anxious reading this book because, okay? So, not I felt happy reading this book because I liked it. I'm afraid that's not good enough. Okay, you have to explain why you have those feelings towards this book. Okay? And then the best part was, or I did not like that part because. Okay? So you're trying to get them to think about why those parts of the stories had made them have a really strong feeling, an emotion towards it. And then this one here This one's talking about their favourite character, why they liked the character, and why they didn't like the character. Okay? So again, the important thing is that they can explain what they feel about it. There's no right or wrong with these book reviews. It's all about your personal feelings towards those books. And then right at the end of the half term, we've got kind of a recommendation here. So why would you tell your friend to read the book that you read that you loved? Okay, so this is really important. This is about a book that you loved, the best book this half term. Okay, not one that you didn't enjoy, the best book. And I want you to write down here why you'd want your friend to read this book. Okay, so you've got to sell the book so that your friend is like, yes, I want to read that book. And whoever does the best one of these, okay, that will go up in your classroom so that everybody can see the fantastic review that you've done of the book. Okay? And in fact, each week, so when you've done your really good reviews, okay, if you make sure your teacher sees that, if you're really proud of it, and then your teacher will copy that, and the best one will go up on the wall for everyone to see. So we go right the way through, so autumn 1, autumn 2, spring 2, summer 1, I love these pictures, and summer 2, and then right at the end of the book, there's this really exciting reading race. Okay, so there's an explanation page here, and this is our challenge for you in year 2, because we want you in year 2 to be able to read 100 books. That's your challenge, okay? Every half term, in order to hit that challenge, if you can read 12 books every half term, then you'll be in line for hitting your target of 100 books. Okay, so what you do is when you finished a book that you've been reading, any book that you've been reading, okay, it could be a school book or it could be a book that you've been reading at home, okay, but you can't just put anything down here. You've got to make sure that your parents or your guardians, they agree that you've read and finished that book. You write it in here, okay? And what I've done is I've done it like a race. So you're trying to run your race in 120 seconds, okay? So you're starting off your time at 230 seconds, and each time you read a book, your time gets faster and faster. So if you read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books, you'll have run your race in 190 seconds. Okay, whereas if you've read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 books, you'll have done your race in 140 seconds. But you're trying, your target is to reach 120 seconds, okay, and to have won your race. And then down the bottom, you write down whatever you finished on that half term. So if you did 5 books, then you write down 190 seconds. That is your personal best. Okay, that's how fast you've been able to do it that half term. And then what you're trying to do is each half term, you're trying to get faster and faster. All right. Now, if you've only read 4 or 5 books, that means you've still got to read all of these and get all the way down here. Okay, so it's really important that you do your best to read 12 books each half term. Otherwise, you'll find the race gets very tiring. But if you keep up with that reading of 12 books, then you'll be on target to get your gold medal. And then if you keep going, you can even get a platinum medal for 100 books that you've read. So say you get here, okay, 160 seconds, and autumn 1 finishes, then what you do is you keep going. Okay, so when autumn 2 starts, you have to read 1, 2, 3, 4 more books before you can get up there, okay? Because what we're trying to do is make a running total of all the books that we've read. But the good news is, if in autumn 1 you get all the way to 12 books and you've still got a couple of weeks left, then you can start your autumn 2 race straight away, okay? And that's how you can get like all the way to 100 by the end of the half term. By the end of the year. If you get to the end of 100 by half term, woo! You're a better reader than Mr. Palmer. All right, so if you've got any questions about the reading race, have a read of the instructions there. And if you still don't understand it, then come and see me or talk to your teachers because they know all about the reading race as well. Okay, so fantastic. Please use this at home, okay, to support your reading. It's really, really important. And don't listen to me anymore. Go and get a book and start reading.